Hello, and welcome back to Goalie Interference. It is ridiculously dusty in my house. I'm hoping I'm able to breathe through all of this. If you ever see me take a ridiculously deep breath, I'm not dying. I'm not underwater. It just feels that way. And there's dog treats behind me. There is a lot going on. What is up, Mr. McKenna? How are you?
You live in the desert, Ken. That's what it comes down to. You just walk outside and you're just constantly ingesting all those plastic bags that fly around Vegas at all times and all the other trash that gets lodged at the. It's funny, when I came to Vegas in 2005, all those open lots that hadn't been previously developed. And man, I even went to Vegas. It was just scrub land, and I came back 12 years later, and man, there was a whole outer belt to the city, and those had all been filled in. And it even goes back to, I know I'm giving quick story time to start it off, but this is pressing because people are in Vegas. And I came out probably 96 or 7 to play in a roller hockey tournament. They were building Bellagio. I remember we stayed at the Flamingo and they were testing the fountains at Bellagio. And we had to go all the way out to the Las Vegas Ice Center, which used to be a roller hockey facility. And I'm telling you, it felt like it was 2 miles past anything. Okay. Yeah, and this is down, I guess that's down Tropicana or Flamingo.
No, Flamingo and about Fort Apache.
That's correct. Yeah. So it is Flamingo. Yeah. So it was just way out there. Like it was in the middle of the desert, and I had pictures of it. And the amazing part is, again, like less than 10 years later, I show up
middle of town,
and now I'm living in an apartment complex, more or less across the street. There's a Smith's there. There's, like they say, even you go past, even further west on Flamingo goes another 3 miles now. So, I'm a good 4 miles, 5 miles west of that. Yeah. Yeah. All that money you make, I get it. But I mean, it just,
get out of here.
But no, I mean,
shout out to the Jimerson Law Firm for sponsoring this show.
Jimerson Law Firm. That's right. But I do kind of, it's crazy to me. Like, I know I'm going down memory lane here. Maybe I'm just feeling super nostalgic today for some reason about a life once lived. But that was an amazing part of going back to Vegas, to see how much that city had grown and changed. And, even the freeways that used to just have rocks lining the sides of the road, to see those all get paved because people kept crashing in the rocks. And it just common sense stuff that all changed. So, hey,
well, let's talk some Golden Knights, some of them now. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we can do that. Let's see. You want to start with goalies?
Well, since it's goalie
coming back,
let's just get it. Let's get it out of the way.
Right.
Let's do that.
All right. So we'll start with just how they're playing. Quick has been, in your opinion, he's 5-1-0. The numbers they're all right. Give me a grade from A to F. I don't think it's an F. I don't think it's an A either.
Oh, it's definitely not an A. I think with a 5-1 record, how can you give anybody lower than a B, honestly?
Right.
Yeah, I really don't think you can. Yeah. I mean, the game against Calgary was terrible. And then last night against Vancouver, what's he going to do on some of those goals? Like, I think he's done a very serviceable job for the club. But what you're seeing is he had the monster game against Carolina. That was a shutout that's really buoyed his statistics. And that's the outlier, because the rest is like, he finds a way to, this has been him for the last 5 years. He finds a way to allow 3 goals or more every night.
Yep.
It's just how it is. And
sometimes it's no matter his fault, and sometimes it's not, right?
Shit. That's hockey. It is. Yeah. But you guys all see it now. Like, if you got him under a microscope and how he plays, you can see why. Like, he just chases like crazy low. Like this, let's see, the second goal last night was where he was crawling on all fours, right?
Yeah.
Like it just, you can see why the consistency isn't there, and that he has to be absolutely dialed and locked to be effective. And even opposing teams now very much know what's going on. Beauvillier coming down the off wing, which would have been Quick's left side. Beauvillier came in and shoot high blocker about 3 times in a row, knowing that the scouting report is he's going to drop paddle down. You're going to have all right, but you're going to have this open. Now, hey, to Quick's credit, he held his ground. He didn't drop paddle down when he shouldn't have. He was patient. He made the save. Like, but people know they're on to him, I guess. So bottom line, he's been fine, just like we thought he would be.
Right.
But
That's
Do you
exactly
trust
what we expected.
What's the trust factor?
That's and like beyond that, it's not only the trust in him, it's now going to have to be the trust in a young goalie who is still a rookie in Thompson, who hasn't been on the ice for what's it been, almost 2 months now, a little over a month.
Yeah, it has.
What was it? It was
Long
right on
time,
the
man.
outside the break, so it was about a month and a half. You've got Brossoit, who's really never been a starter, so we'll have to see how that works out. And then the way the schedule's going to work out, it's probably not going to be picking the right games for the right guys, right? Like, I think they're kind of just going to have to put it back in and say, how do we fit this in? So what does Thompson have to do, in your opinion, or if anything, maybe it's nothing, to get the net back? Like, is it his right now? Like, he just steps in and boom, you're the starter in 2 out of 3 automatic, all the playoff games? Or is there something to prove?
I don't think it's his right now at all. And pardon me, I'm going to, sorry, I had to clear my throat there a little bit. I don't think it's Thompson's right now by any stretch. They've got Jonathan Quick, who's 5-1. Okay. I mean, I was having a conversation today. Like, I skate with an alumni group of former pro college NHL players on Wednesday nights. And I was talking to somebody who is in management, and God, it was just overflowing, basically. Like, hey, it's Jonathan Quick. Like, I was literally hearing it, exactly like I've said. And this is somebody that I respect to the absolute fullest. But it's also somebody that would immediately say, I just stop the puck, right? They don't understand goaltending. And I think that's still in play. But I don't think it's Thompson's net any longer, simply because he's been out for that long. Now, does he have the cachet of it previously being his and being a Vegas Golden Knights goaltender now and in the future? Now, that's a real thing. He's been there. He's grown up in the system. He's going to be there for the next 2 years, 3 years. But he's going to have to play good hockey, Ken. There's no way around it.
How good?
The thing and that's really where I was headed. I'm not sure how often we're having to see great hockey, like, now the Golden Knights to me haven't been buttoned down defensive as much as you'd expect out of these wins. They really haven't. And I even think that some of the high danger chances that you see when you look at natural stat trick might be a little inflated right now, because I'm not seeing the sheer number. I always correlate how a team plays the odd man rushes against. Okay. Like, that's just it for me. If you're just getting crushed with odd man rushes and breakaways, you suck. And they're just
at this time of the year, you don't see a ton of it, right? It's not the better teams.
You're not watching the right teams, Kenny boy.
Okay, I guess not. I mean, I don't watch Edmonton every night. I will tell you that. I don't watch Seattle every night. But
go take a gander at the Florida Panthers, even. Like, there's a
but I mean, I feel like Vegas isn't they're not getting a ton of them. Like, they're certainly not giving up much at all, which is great. But I don't feel like they're getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a game. Like, the occasional one odd man pops up, right? But I do think the middle of the ice, it's not been locked down. And that's where Quick's been pretty good. Like, I feel like he's been pretty good. I feel like Patera was good in his 2 games. I feel like Hill was good in his games. Like, I think it's going to take something here, because if you go back in there, if you're Thompson, and there's 3 or 4 of those from right out in front, that all of a sudden, see, I'm choking on the air, that are right out in front, that end up in the back of the net. Like, I think he loses the spot pretty quick.
Ken, here's what crushes goalies: getting beat clean by shots. It's not rebound goals. It's not backdoor tap-ins. It's not breakaways or odd man rushes. It's getting.
How far do they have to be? Like, can it be?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right in the middle.
It doesn't. It's straight up. At today's day and age, if you get beat clean, the coach thinks you're an asshole. And even if it gets deflected, how did that go in? Versus if it's going the other direction and you shoot a puck and it goes off a body. Well, we really worked for that one. That's what caused that one to go in. We got ourselves in the right position. This is how coaches are. And this is how goalie haters are. It's just how it works, which most coaches are goalie haters. They just don't know the position. But Jonathan Quick, if he can see the puck, makes a lot of saves, man. From mid-range and long distance. He's got, because he has unbelievable reflexes and he tracks the puck well. He makes a lot of those saves. He gets in trouble when the puck starts to get close from the dots on down, because then he starts to default to his nervousness and his lack of patience in tight. But Aiden Hill, I thought, was somebody who was getting beat clean a decent amount early. And then as the year progressed, he started to play more and get rhythm and shots. Man, he was really starting to lock down on the clean attempts. Whereas Thompson, I thought, was kind of maybe going the other direction with that. So that's what it comes down to for me. Patera's a rebound machine, man. Like I like his energy, but boy, he chases everything. Puck can be 2 feet wide. I'm trying to think of the goal against Columbus. I think it was Columbus's first goal, that the shot from Goodbranson at the point was probably going 3 feet wide, and he still chased it with his foot. It goes off his boot break right back in the slot. Terrible. Like, it was a horrible goal against him that way. Like, and I was surprised because, like, when I see things, sometimes it doesn't correlate statistically. And Patera's only got a small sample size, right? But I go look at moneypuck.com, and rebounds above expected, he's like second in the league. So I was like, okay, well, again, small sample size, but the reason being he doesn't catch the puck well at all. Like, he does not catch the puck.
That's where Thompson's very good.
And Thompson does, absolutely. And so does Quick does too. So I guess really what it comes down to, I still think Laurent Brossoit is the most predictable goalie that they have. But I don't think he has a prayer. If you've got Quick and Thompson healthy, Brossoit is not going to start over either of them. So that's pretty much it for me. Whoever between Thompson and Quick is perceived to be playing the best and gotten beat the least by clean shots, to me, is going to who ends up in the cage. But I still think, like I said, talking to a person in management today, like, we've said this all from the start, it's still 2 Stanley Cups and a Conn Smythe, man. And that may have been a decade ago, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to people, man. So that's right.
So if you're, I don't know which spot to put you in. Like, I guess let's play all three. Let's first start with your Logan Thompson. You've been in, you were the starter. It was clear. You made the All-Star game. The numbers weren't amazing, but they were certainly good enough. There's ones you can point to that are good.
They were they were very good traditional metrics for Logan. Very
traditional, good. Right. Okay, that's fair. Traditional metrics, advanced, not as good. So it depends how you look. Yep. You're Logan Thompson. You're coming back. You get your first game. What do you want to happen? Like, obviously you want to be the starter, but you obviously also understand they're going to have to get guys in. Do you want 2, 3, 4 starts in a row? Do you want 2 and then get 1 out? Do you want the front end of the back-to-backs? Like, what is the perfect setup if you're Logan Thompson to get your net back? Understanding that you might not be perfect and elite right off the bat because you've been out for 6 weeks.
Well, he's going to get a grace period. And this is the luxury that, to me, the Golden Knights have built up for their goaltenders, for Thompson in that regard, is that, hey, they're making the Stanley Cup playoffs, right, Ken? They're making it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're there. It's over.
So it's a good thing they didn't sell the farm at the trade deadline. But I know.
We didn't want to sell the farm on
everybody
the deadline.
Listening.
We wanted to sell before, whatever. Okay.
I'm giving
Ken fuck off. Okay, go on.
So hey, I've been wrong plenty of times too. It's okay.
I'm not wrong. Go ahead.
Anyway, they're going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're in. It's fine. I'm really not even sure that seeding makes a huge difference, at least in the Pacific, honestly, right now.
Just don't finish 4th, and they won't.
Right. So I'd be kind of wary of Los Angeles. They've been the best team in the league since January 31st or something like that. But
Minnesota's been good too.
Yeah. But I think if you're looking at Thompson's, to me, if Cassidy's smart. Well, Cassidy is smart, man. Like that would be a really dumb thing to say, because I think he is a very intelligent person and coach. I think you just got to let these guys rotate for a few games, especially knowing that
1-1-1-1-1.
Yeah, I think so. Especially knowing that they're going to be facing pretty heavy competition. You know, there's not really many nights off here, right? Like, you got San Jose mixed in, but
is it 3 guys or 2 guys you're saying on the rotation?
Oh, it's 2. It's 2. You're not going 3.
Like Brossoit, he's out. He's not getting another game.
I think he is the Thomas Greiss of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Really? Yep. I think he gets in there. I think he gets at least 1, if not 2, of the last 11.
I could see him play in the back-to-back scenario in April. They only have one left of those, I believe, right? And it's a
Yes,
Minnesota,
that's correct.
Nashville, which is a pretty good distance. I could actually see them leaving a goalie at home for that.
Okay. So, but I
could
guess,
see
again, let me just ask, if you're Thompson and I tell you I'm giving you 6 of the 11, you know you're getting 6. Because I think that's probably fair. Maybe it's 5 or 6 of the
So
11.
can I just hop in real quick here?
When do you want like when do you want those games? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I said to alternate, and I should have prefaced that by saying not all the way till the end. Like, I would like to give them the next 2 weeks here, like the next, let's say like the next 6 or 8 games. How about that?
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
It's probably the right mix. Like, honestly, 6 or 7 games. Like, alternate him for like a couple, because Thompson's gonna knock rust off, man. It's gonna take a game or 2.
Right. That's
So
the challenge. That's the part that I'm scared about, because I think that part's gonna make him lose. Right. That's gonna make him lose the job, which is
we don't know
wrong.
That. You gotta trust him go out and perform, man. So you give him the alternating games, and if they're looking good, you start to get to April, and you can either keep rotating, which I wouldn't put him past him to do that, or you can go to a 2-3 rotation or 2-1 rotation, like they've been doing earlier in the year. I mean, Thompson was playing 2, Hill's playing 1. They were pretty consistent in that. And Cassidy, that has been how he has handled goalies for the last however long. He did it in Boston very effectively with Rask and with Halak, and last year though he pretty much split them. Now here's the thing: Swayman and Ullmark didn't take that job, either of them, last year. And that's kind of what I would be afraid of here. There's also the factor that Quick and Thompson are very different goalies, man. Like, they're just way different, how they handle the puck and everything. By April 2nd, I would want to see them playing one guy 4 of those last 6 games. Let's say that. I think that would be the right way to handle it.
So I think you're right. I think that's what the plan is to hope to do. What is the leash? Like, what is the leash going to be on each guy? If your plan is, okay, Logan's the starter, he's playing 4 of 6, and then let's say he goes 2-2 and the other guy goes 2-0, that would be Quick in those 2, and his numbers are better. He played better. The team played better. Like, I don't know how you're going to feel comfortable with how many games are left unless you chuck Thompson in there and say, I don't care what happened. That's the starter. That's it. Like, that's the only way. And I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think at some point here, you can really overthink these things. And
that's what's going to happen.
I'm really not sure of that. Like, I really think Cassidy's got a pretty level head on his shoulders when it comes to goalies, really. Like, I don't like how he beat the goalies up a bit in January. Remember that stretch where he was saying we're just not getting saves more or less? And it was kind of like, oh, dude, you're not scoring goals either here. Like, don't bag on him too hard. Like, I didn't like that. But that's also, hey man, that's the ex-player in me too. Like, that's where I would have been kind of back up against the wall. Like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm doing my best here. We're not scoring, right?
Right.
But I think the flip side of that is that Cassidy, that could have been a calculated move. Like, that could have been, for all we know, him and Sean Burke saying, hey, we need to challenge these guys a little bit.
Get going. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, like, I'm not a coach. And like I say, like, the only thing about Cassidy that's always made me nervous is just, I know that how it operated in Boston was that, man, he trusted his guys, and those guys he didn't trust they just were nothing. Right. And that's just how he coaches, and he's successful. And I said right from the start, this is the right guy for this team. So I think he'll make a good choice with it. Honestly, this is one thing that Ken, I trust him on this, that he's probably going to be, at least down the stretch here, I trust that he will have a clear vision of what to do, at least, whether it's the right vision or not. Hey, that's always going to be up for debate. But I think he's probably got a clear vision of what he wants, at least, which is better than just going, I'm going to play the guy who's hot. Ooh, hot hand. That's a recipe for disaster.
There's always an argument that no matter what the vision is, no matter how the guys play, it's wins and losses in the playoffs. If they win a bunch of playoff games, he's going to look like a genius. If they don't win a bunch of playoff games, he's going to look like a complete moron. It's tricky because it didn't really have to be this way. You can make the argument, yes, the 5-1 happened. I think I've seen enough of Patera to say they're at 4-2 if he plays all those games instead. So I still stand by, I don't think they needed this. But one of the things you mentioned in there is trust. And that brings us to another topic, a player that I think needs to earn a lot more trust if he's going to make this happen and he's going to stay in the lineup. I know all the fans want him to stay in the lineup. I know a lot of people want him to stay in the lineup, many in the media. Not sure I'm on board yet, but that's Pavel. But before I let you answer the question about Pavel, I want to tell you that this show is brought to you by the Jimerson Law Firm. Jimerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas's preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimerson Law Firm. When scoring goals matters, seek out Pavel Dorofeyev's face. It's 4 goals in 5 games or whatever it is. And worry about the stats, worry about whatever. He's currently playing with Smith and Carlson. That's a very, very, very important duo come playoff time. It's going to be an important duo over the course of the next 2.5 weeks. It's an important duo come playoff time. Is it possible that Pavel Dorofeyev can win enough trust out of Bruce Cassidy that that's his spot? And how long does this have to last for that to actually happen? Because I'll make the argument before you even answer, it can't happen.
It's such a great question, though, isn't it? It's tantalizing. It's sexy. It's a real wonder because he's been hot. You know what I do like? I really like him and Kessel. I think they should be the top power play. I've said this for a while. I think Kessel should be rolled out first. And I truly mean that.
Been better. They've been better. Why? There's no doubt.
You know why? Because they're direct. They just go, man. Like Kessel's feet go downhill. It's quick. Dorofeyev's not afraid to tack net, and he does have really nice hands in tight. But Dorofeyev's not going to be a player that, to me, down the stretch, is somebody Cassidy's looking at and going, "This guy's our horse." I can't believe that based on past experience, and I also think that it is a bump for him right now. I don't think that at this point you're going to see him continue to be sustainable like this. And we always have to remember, as soon as people come back in this lineup, right? I don't think he's staying there, right? Nick Waugh, hey, closer, right? Carrier.
Maybe tomorrow.
Exactly.
Carrier's a bit away, playoffs, but Kolazar's on the trip wearing the jersey. Like he's got a shot, yeah.
Here's the thing about Nick Waugh, that if he's healthy, he's in the lineup. So who do you take out for Dorofeyev? You're not going to take out Howden or Bluger. You're not going to take out that bottom pair because they've been pretty sustainable. Maybe Cotter. I could see Cotter. I could see that. But I think Cotter has some intangibles that helps this team. I do think that he makes a difference on the ice more than Dorofeyev's not intimidating. He's not going to hit anybody. It's though. Yeah, but he does. So
nothing more intimidating than that.
That's highly debatable, Ken.
I don't know. Like Connor McDavid's the scariest player on the planet. Like there's no doubt about it. It's way scarier than everybody's boy.
And Nathan McKinnon's right there too. Bottom line is that when they got Teddy Bluger, to me, it was kind of an indictment that Nick Waugh is going to go anywhere they need him. Which means Nick Waugh
is a weird thought, yeah. And that's what they mentioned, right? Like a weird concept that has not worked in the past.
It has not at all. That means Nick Waugh is going to go play the right wing with Smitty and Carlson, and Nick Waugh is going to go stand in front of the net on the power play. If you ask me, that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. I will say this though, Dorofeyev, regardless of anything that happens the rest of this year, he's made a really strong case to make the team out of camp next year and give him some flexibility.
For sure.
Which I think is great. We should be celebrating that. This is a homegrown product, man. We should absolutely be celebrating that. They need more of it.
So the thing he's doing is he's scoring. The thing the Golden Knights have been doing is they're scoring. I posted an article a couple of days ago. Look at all of the records that the Golden Knights could potentially break this season. One of them that they can break is scoring goals. They may score the most goals of any Golden Knights team ever. Not per game. Was that bubble year, but that year doesn't count. But the total number of goals, more than the team that went to the Stanley Cup final. I read that when I posted my own article and said, wait a minute, how is this happening? Yet I'm still pretty confident that they're not going to be able to score when push comes to shove in the postseason. Like, they're looking at 3.3 a game. They're looking at potentially breaking their own team record. Has anything changed? Like, are we missing something? Are they actually going to score? Or did we overdo it? Are we confirmation biasing they can only score on the rush, these types of things? Like, are we missing something there is my question.
Isn't this so hard? Because all the advanced metrics say that this team shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
Certainly not winning the games the way they're winning them, yeah.
Versus kind of in the
not
past.
that bad, yeah. Right, it was
in
opposite.
The past, it was kind of like, right, like, why aren't they? They're doing everything. Why aren't they? Here's the caveat. They continue to consistently score early in games. And defensive teams, and I've been on them before, you pop a couple early ones, or even if you come out of the first period 1-1 or 2-2, whatever it may be, like, you just know if you get 1 or 2 in the second, you're going to win and lock it down. And
they haven't been locking it down.
I know that. It's been a problem.
They've been winning, but they have not been locking it down.
No, but their third periods have been better than their second periods. So
second periods, they've been scoring a lot. They've actually been recently, the second period's been one of the better ones, better than the third. But yeah, I agree.
I guess what I'm getting at here, though, is I can't read it, man. Like, my gut tells me that this team, when it comes time to play the big dogs in playoffs, they're going to have a hard time scoring. That's what my gut tells me. The power play is a bit resurgent, which I like, but you're not going to get. I mean, this is a team that already doesn't draw a lot of penalties. They're not going to draw any more in playoffs, unless there's the mandate from the NHL like we had last year, where they called everything in the first round, which just caught everybody off guard. So I think that this club, in my eyes, will face a tougher task. I don't think there's any way around it. This next couple of weeks are probably going to show it to us, because they are playing a really tough run teams. But like, defensively, I really don't have worries about this club, Ken. And I don't know about you. I think that they're
I do a little bit.
I do solid.
A little bit. My worry
for me,
is
it the way they're trying, the way that they haven't shut down neutral zone, or the way they get hemmed
partially
in?
Partially that. It's probably more hemmed in. And when they're hemmed in, I think that it goes well against some of the teams that aren't horribly creative, can't really do all that much. Not going to go well
against Edmonton.
And aren't deep. Like, I think that's the part that's interesting to me. And then the other one is just simply like, and maybe I'm wrong. I very well could be wrong on this, but I can't watch a team get beat up on expected goals at 5-on-5 night after night after night after night and think this is going to continue. I just don't buy it.
I agree.
And like, yes, it's happening. I understand being ahead matters. It mattered a lot last night. They waxed the Canucks in the first period, smoked them, like, dominant. Then
first
the rest
24
of the game,
minutes of the game or whatever. Yeah.
Kill them, right? Then the rest of the game, the expected goals number comes back up. It looks like they lost expected goals in that game. All right, I can take that one and throw it out. Okay. But it's like the Carolina game is a great example. They were not very good defensively in that game. I understand it was 4-0. They shut them out. They gave up so many dangerous chances in that game that I just think when you see these deeper teams, the chances continue at a more consistent pace. And that's where I just don't believe that part's going to hold up. So that's where I do think they're going to have to score. And the one number that really jumped off the page to me when I kind of went through this and said, all right, well, how are they doing this? Are they just scoring a shit ton of goals against the Coyotes? Like, is that what's happening? And to a degree, it is. But the bigger piece and the biggest piece of all of it is that they're scoring a ton on the road, like ridiculous amounts of goals on the road. A, why? And B, usually that comes down in a playoff series. Is it going to? Can you actually sustain this? Can you be 3 goals a game on the road?
Well, I mean, this is kind of, I'd really like to go back to see what the Bruins did in their Stanley Cup playoff run. You know, I feel like you have some real strong similarities between these clubs. And that would be a question I would love to ask Cassidy, because if he came back and said there's no similarity at all, I'd feel like, okay, I'm dumb. This was a bad observation. But it's something I would ostensibly like to hear from him is, do you feel there are similarities between these two clubs? Because
I'm on it.
That would really help us in some ways kind of see the underlying value of what he believes in too. I mean, I watched that series closely with Boston and St. Louis, and it really came down to Boston just couldn't generate enough to win, and Binnington, listen, Jordan Binnington was on fire. There's no doubt about it. He had one or two off games in the finals, but St. Louis just outscored him. And I know we're comparing different teams here, but you're still comparing the same system, really. Like what Cassidy does has been consistent between Boston and Vegas. So, there's X factors, right? Like what if Mark Stone does come back, right? Like to me, that's a holy shit moment. Oh,
for sure.
Yes, it does. But
huge difference. Yeah, huge difference.
I don't know if we can bank on that. So, I mean, this is all just conjecture.
At least not bank on him being stupendous when he comes back. I think you can probably pencil him in for trying. I don't know if it actually turns into a game. I think he's going to be on the ice. I think you're going to see him in practices. He's going to be there. If he's going to be elite, I don't know. And then you're pushing guys down the lineup, and what are you getting out of Barbashev now that he's down the lineup? Where does Marchessault fit back in? Are you throwing away the Bluger or Howden or Kolazar or Carrier or whoever it is to put Carrier or to put Stone back in? Like, there's a lot of questions down the road there. So, yeah, go ahead.
Teddy Bluger's not coming out of the lineup. I put a Billy on it right now. That guy's way too valuable for him. Like they trade for a player, you don't put him out of the lineup unless they did. He's doing the
80% start. Yeah, they did. They did with Tatar too, but different coaches.
Yeah. But Cousins sure felt like he just kind of from the start, for whatever reason, didn't really fit. And I couldn't really put my finger on the pulse with it. He's not a hyper talented player. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like he was an additional piece that they really didn't need. They were doing the typical, hey, we can load up, let's do this thing. Versus, I mean, you're looking at this lineup now. You got Dorofeyev, Cotter, Howden, Amadio, Bluger. But here's the thing: like we keep talking about Amadio. Amadio's been in the lineup all year, man.
Pretty much. Beginning of the year, he was the one who was coming out, but he has not come out for a while. It hasn't really been an opportunity to do it, but yeah.
And that's why, to me, like Amadio's not coming out, if you ask me. And Howden, I think, would be vulnerable too. Like Howden, you notice him every now and then, right? But at some point, like, what's the stat line? It's kind of what it comes down to sometimes. Like if you're not producing, that's just going to be it.
That's something about the kind of what we were talking about Nick Cousins was that team actually was kind of nasty. That team was a bitch to play against. Like it was not fun to play the Golden Knights in the bubble. They were not an enjoyable team to go up against. They were loud. Like when Reeves was there, they were a loud, obnoxious, annoying team to play. And Nick Cousins came in, and in many ways, Nick Cousins can be a guy that gets under your skin, but he also can be a guy that's a little twat that you just cast to the side. And like all respect to Nick Cousins, I like the guy quite a bit. Sometimes you see that and like, Nick Cousins, go away. Like then it almost becomes funny. They didn't need that. The question here is when they're scoring as quickly as they're scoring, they've scored in the first 9 minutes now 26 times this season. They've won 22 of those games. They have not scored in the rest of the games. They're 22, 50, or 17 and 5 in those games. I can't get off that stat. What I'm trying to say is when they score early, Teddy Bluger becomes super valuable. Because now you have a fourth line that can play 80% defensive zone starts. You don't have to worry as much about generating offense in a even strength tied game. Things fall into place more. But when you don't have that early goal, now you do have some repetition of Howden, Amadio, Bluger, Cotter, Kolazar. They're different players. There's different aspects to each and every guy. And when Jason comes on, we're going to play the pick the one you want or pick the three you want game. But where was Teddy Bluger when they needed goals against Calgary? Where was Howden? Where are these guys? And I know I'm picking individual games, but like when I look at the team and I look at, all right, who's going to come back in, that's where you could make an argument. Go with Pavel, go with Amadio, go with Cotter. They can score. And Teddy has scored twice, so good for him. But
yeah,
I still can't get over, without a lead, are they the same team?
Well,
and I just don't know.
I don't either. And I feel like that you still got a lot of people coming back from, I mean, you still got Kolesar coming back, man. Like he's been in the lineup every game too. Here's another guy. So you have 3 forwards, potentially 4. And these lines are going to get all mixed around. I think you're kind of seeing what, like even the Maple Leafs right now have so many people hurt, so many defensemen, like, and they haven't found some juice because they're all mixed up, dude. They got like 8 defensemen they're mixing in and out. The Golden Knights need to get healthy before the Stanley Cup playoffs, man. Because if it's not just, like, they can just mix in Mark Stone, I think. But we've seen this where they finally started to get a little bit of chemistry out of some lines. And now it's like, here we go again, So,
but
I can't predict it either.
Like, during it, they're scoring.
I know.
Like, the Barbashev,
this team is good, dude. Like, this is a good team, right? And it's, they just keep, there's a vibe right now. I really think that.
Which group, if you had to pick any of the lines, whether that's Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault, Smith, Karlsson, Dorofeev, Stevenson, Kessel, Cotter, or what is it, Howden, Amadio, Bluger, of any of those 4 lines, is there any of them that you say, don't touch that? That has to stay. Don't put Nick Waugh there. Don't move anyone around. Nothing. Like, any of those 4, do you feel like that has to stay? Because I don't.
No, I don't either. I think that's
right.
But I also, here's the thing. I'm laughing about it, but I also think that's kind of a strength. Like, and I don't mean to sound that I know I just sat here and said, like, we don't know what's going to happen, but there are a lot of pretty versatile players in this lineup. It's kind of like the Rangers are moving players up and down and changing things. It's just, I'd like to see it set, because we've seen way too many extended periods of players going cold. Like, remember when Kessel didn't do anything forever? Stevenson just went completely silent and it's like, he's been a non-factor, which is crazy. Like, could you imagine a world where Chandler Stevenson's a healthy scratch? I can't. I can't at all. I'm saying some crazy stuff here, but like,
right now, can you imagine a world in which Chandler Stevenson's an all-star again?
No, he wasn't.
What do they first imagine their scoring, what the scoring would look like and how quickly they'd be scoring if that was happening? Because Kessel's been pretty good. Cotter's been all right down there. Like, what if he was doing the same things he was doing? Like, that's a huge difference. They're not getting that recently and haven't been.
No, they have not. And it's been pretty surprising to see. I mean, Stevenson's been okay, but man, he's not scoring at all. And
doesn't generate that much either, I don't think. And it's weird because I do feel like Kessel is. I do feel like Cotter is.
Kessel's feet go straight to the net. Pretty direct. Yeah, I don't know whether
I still wonder,
or not, but
I still will make the argument. I don't like Nick Waugh as a winger compared to Chandler Stevenson as a winger. And I don't think you're getting enough out of Stevenson at the moment that it's worthwhile to keep him there. But at the same time, what is it, 13-2-2 or some shit? Like, it's ridiculous since the break. They're scoring a ton of goals. They're giving up a bunch of chances, but they're not going in the net. Like, there is a fine line here. And what's really weird about it is, like, you almost want the process to catch up, but the results have to kind of stay the same, because if the process catches up and the results start to go south, even if say all of a sudden they're even on like expected goals, and then all of a sudden they start losing a couple of games, we're going to be like, just go back to playing where you're getting killed on them. Like, that's what's so tricky about all these players coming back in and now playing what are they important games? Let's just talk about that for a second. Is this an important stretch? The Golden Knights are in the playoffs. We know the Golden Knights are in the playoffs. We know they're not falling lower than third. It's LA, Edmonton, probably one of those two at this point. I guess if you get into first, then you've got the opportunity to open up some of these other teams. But one of those is going to be the hottest team in the league. Like whoever it is going to be the hottest team in the league. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to go nuts and put all this time and effort on Edmonton twice, Calgary, LA? Like, is that real? Is that legitimate? Should we be doing that?
Put it this way. If they skate out there in these next 11 games and they drop 5 of them and 1 or 2 of them are pretty lopsided to some of these big clubs, it's a bad feeling in a locker. Excuse me. It's a bad feeling in a locker room, Ken. And you look around at these clubs that they're going to face. I'm not worried about Calgary. You know what? They could lose to Calgary 6-2. And I don't think it phases them because Calgary is a team that's just whatever. But you bet your ass Edmonton, Minnesota, LA, and Dallas. Yeah. LA especially.
Seattle. Maybe Seattle at the end if the games still matter.
Seattle to me will only matter if they play like utter shit in both of those games. You know?
It's fair.
That's what it's
fair.
That's I think
if they play great in one of them, you're gonna feel good about the matchup. Yeah.
If they have 2 in a row shit burgers, it's gonna be bad.
That would be 3 against Seattle if that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. But Edmonton twice, Minnesota twice, LA, Dallas. Yeah, I think a roads lead through Dallas coming out of the West for whoever's going to make it out. You know, whoever that is. I really think that, man. That team, man, how many buzzer beaters have they had this year? You know, remember against Golden Knights when Nick Robertson made a flying skate save at the blue line and then they end up winning? Like, that team's just dangerous. So, yeah, I think this really does matter, Ken. And I don't think it's as much for seeding. I really think it's this general feeling in that locker room when you're trying to come together, when you're getting guys healthy again, when you got 2 goalies, potentially 5, duking it out to grab we haven't even talked about if Leonard comes off IR.
He's not.
I know. I wanted to see if anybody reacted.
He's not for not. He's not.
I know. Sometimes I like to see what happens, but there's a lot of variables there, and you want to have a good feeling going in. There's no way.
So with these games, with you saying they do have some value to them, that you do want to win some of these games, I think you can accomplish the same thing of like, let's try this line, let's try this combination and see how it works with an effort of we need to win these games. But like, what is the balance between experimenting with let's try Stevenson here, let's try Wah here, let's give like Dorofeyev? How long can he actually stay in? If you're not planning on using him in the playoffs, do you want him playing these games that you want to win if Nick Wah's available and now you're taking someone else out? Like, where should that level be? What should it be of how much you want to experiment? And then same with the goalies. How much do you want to say, let's give them some leash here? Is there leash to any line, any goalie, any player right now?
I think the goalies are going to have a lot of leash in terms of patience because Thompson's built up that cash. I don't think that there really is. I don't think they're thinking in terms of leash for Dorofeyev. Like I really believe that the thought on Dorofeyev. I think the thought on Dorofeyev is like any other team. This guy's an American League call-up that played some great hockey for us. Thank you for your service. We'll see you next year. You know, I don't think we even need to overthink that one because I think once everybody's healthy, no, because you know that he's not your horse in playoffs. And that team in Henderson's not going to make the playoffs anyway in the American League. So can I just ask one more?
Watt and Kolazar are available tomorrow. Say Watt and Kolazar are available. Let's just, I mean, either to just Watt. Can Dorofeyev come out right now? Like, can he not play the next game?
Yep. He would come right out of the lineup. That's how it works. Okay. This is one of those, Ken, where
it's fair.
Right, wrong, anything. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. This is just how it works. And so
is that different if they're in Calgary spot needing points or in, say, Seattle spot still needing points? Like, is that only because we're basically clinched already?
I don't think so because Juan and Kolesar are considered key parts of this team right here, right now, this season.
All right.
Yeah. Imagine if you're Nick Wah and they keep him in the lineup, okay? Like, and I don't mean this to be like you're going to keep that American Leaguer in the lineup. like that's kind of the thought process that happens with this, which is bullshit. It's total bullshit because guess who? Hey, guess what I was? Why is this American leaguer here? That's what.
Well, so was Nick
labeled
Waugh,
as, even if you're in the NHL,
right?
So
was Nick
no,
Waugh.
Nick Waugh.
So was Paul Cotter. Like Nick Waugh played a lot of games
not
in
Waugh.
the AHL.
No, but here's the thing about Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh wasn't Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter was something of an estranged child, if I remember right, in terms of not as a human, but in terms like I think he was at college. He left college early. He went to
juniors. Yep.
He's a guy who, and he didn't light it,
too.
And he didn't light it up at either of those places. Okay, Nick Waugh was a linchpin for the Charlotte Checkers in the American League when they won a Calder Cup. Like he was a critical piece of that team. And he was really good in junior as well. And they won that Calder Cup against the Wolves. They saw it firsthand. So the team believed in him. They went out of their way to get him. They believed that he could turn into it. Like the thought process when they got Waugh within the team was that he could be a second line player. And I always said, no chance. I don't believe that full time. I think that he is a best served third, fourth line player. For third line especially, he'll be a very good third line player on a good team. That was my belief. And I think he's probably punched above the weight a little bit. He's shown that he can move up to a second if he needs to. But he had juice behind him. And Cotter, to me, didn't have that juice. He came in and grabbed it. Like he did. He came in and grabbed it, man. Because you even look at him at the American League, and I'm going to look right now because I want to make sure I remember this.
He didn't kill it. He was good. He didn't kill it.
Like
I think Pavel outscored him.
Last season when Henderson was pretty good still, right? Last year they were still pretty good. Cotter had 34 points in 59 games, 19 goals in 59. Now the 19 goals catches your eye. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's not ridiculous pace. And that's why to me it was surprising that how he came in, ball of fire, and did what he did. And there's an internal fire to that kid, man. You can just see it. It's there. But just from what we've seen and what his past history is at different levels, I don't think you can bank on what he's going to be. Whereas Nick Waugh to me was a really predictable player. You knew what you were going to get from him at the NHL level.
That's fair. All right, let's bring Jason up. I want to play the game. We're gonna go through the roster. So just to figure out how many spots we actually have to fill, just nod yes when I say these names. If they're absolutely in the lineup, there's no situation at all that this player is coming out. William Karlsson. Yes. Riley Smith. What is this face, Mike? Riley Smith and William Karlsson are not coming out of the lineup. Stop it. Okay. 2. Jack Eichel. 3.
This is ridiculous. That's why.
I know. I'm getting to the number. Hang on. Marchessault is 4. 5 is
the Washington
Barbashev.
Monument going to fall over tomorrow?
Whatever.
Well, actually, maybe it will.
Actually, you're right. If
6 is Kessel. 6 is Kessel, right?
That's the first time we've put American political processes into the show, and I apologize to everybody, but it was a good punchline. If anybody knew, if you know, you know type of thing. But continue on.
Is anyone else after those 6? Garrett Stevenson 7. All right, we're at 7. Who else?
Yeah.
Anybody else? We have 7.
Phil in coming out.
Kolesar.
Phil's not coming out. He was in. Kolesar, I would say, could potentially come out. All right, so I've got 5 spots, and I've got Howden, Waugh, Kolesar, Carrier, Cotter, Dorofeev. That's 6. Who am I missing? Bluger. That's 7.
Amadio.
That's 8. So any of those, who's the closest to guaranteed to be in the lineup of all of those? Probably Carrier.
Juan Carrier.
Will Carrier is an absolute mortal
okay.
lock.
All right. Carrier's in.
Nick Waugh's not getting healthy stretched.
Okay. So now we're down to 3. We've got 3. We've got Kolesar, Cotter, Howden, Amadio, Dorofeev, Bluger. 6. You get 3.
Bluger's in. Kolesar.
Like guaranteed. Is there a playoff matchup that Bluger could not be in? Is there a situation where Bluger cannot be in? Could he come out when they're not scoring? Like, who are the best 3 players of those 6?
They traded specifically for that player, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that he was in their plans when they traded for him in the postseason.
I think
Okay, he's
Cotter,
in.
Howden, and Amadio are the three you'd be looking at.
I think Cotter you
Kolesar's
need in
out?
your lineup. I think Cotter you need in your lineup for a little
I think
dirt, for a little
Kolesar's in.
sandpaper, as hockey guys like to say.
I think
Is Kolesar
Kolesar is
out?
in. I think he's in, but I wouldn't put that anywhere near a lock. I could see Kolesar when it comes down to it for playoffs getting scratched. I could see that.
I for Amadio or Howden?
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't see Amadio going ahead of Kolesar in a fourth line role. So that's where I think Kolesar, and again, Kolesar's been a big part of this, right? And that's kind of where does Howden fit, right? Like he's been there. He was really good last year.
Let me make the argument for Pavel, because I'm not on board with it, but Pavel does one thing that those guys that we've been talking about, none of them do at the same level. You can make an argument Amadio potentially would be the closest, but is Pavel not the most offensively gifted of all these players we're mentioning? Is there not a place possibly for him?
I would think
Over
so. And I would think
like, no.
I would think that if they
Well,
need somebody off the bench, he would, specifically for scoring, he would be their first option.
That is what, but that's what I was talking about.
Top six.
That's what I was talking about earlier, that if you need scoring, are you going to put Cotter or Dorofeyev in right now? And I think Dorofeyev takes that if that's what you're looking for, a very specific role to carry.
Is it?
But I'm not sure Dorofeyev, like, how is he going to fit with Stevenson and Kessel?
Fits with Smith and Carlson. Not a lot of guys that fit there. Like, Amadio did for a little bit, and a lot of times those guys do fit there for a minute. I agree that, like, if we need a pinch that Marchessault is hurt, or Carlson's not available or whatever, we need to find a way to get a player who can score in there. Okay, we can go to Dorofeyev. I just wonder, like, what makes Paul Cotter or Brett Howden so much better than Pavel right now that you need the quote-unquote intangibles compared to the possibility that this kid's going to score? And he plays on the power play, which sucks when he's not on it. Not that it's all been Pavel Dorofeyev, but the power play blows. It's been better with Pavel on it. The teams that play suck.
As they're trying to create a well-rounded lineup, and he's a call-up. Okay, and I know that this relates back to what I said earlier. I've seen it 1,000 times. He's a call-up. So
Riley highly complimented him yesterday and said that things
Why
have
is
been
he
clicking.
better than Nick Howden?
Brett Howden?
Why,
Do you want
Brett
Dorofeyev
Howden?
on the fourth line? Do you want Dorofeyev on the fourth line? That's what I need to ask you.
No, but Barbashev could be. Amadio seems
Barbashev
like he
can play
be.
anywhere
Like,
you want.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Why does
Oh
Dorofeyev
yes, that has
be
to
on the
happen,
fourth
Mike.
line? Like, because
No,
we said Bluger's in, Carrier's in, right? That's 2 on your fourth line. I can put anyone else there. I don't have, like, Cotter can go there, Howden can go there, Wah can go there. Why does it have to be like, why can't you have the extra scoring? And my argument, I'll stand with it. He's not going to score like this in the playoffs against good teams. His goals are coming against shit. Nonetheless, you see the pieces. You see it there. What makes it so clear that argument is, no, I must have Brett Howden's ability to go to the goal. I must have Keegan Kolesar's ability to be Keegan Kolesar.
In Cotter's case, is it the just the need of playoff grit? I mean, is that why he's in as opposed to Dorofeyev or Howden?
I mean, you got to have a team that's kind of hard to play against. I think that's real. This is just the way it's going to be. Like, if it's different, hey, that's great. Like, I'm not even, like, I'm making an argument against air here. Like, this is what happens with call-ups. And somebody said it's boomer thinking. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, but you also have a certain set amount of guys that are on your team making a lot of money that are paid to do that. And he's not right now. And you trust those players that you've put your weight behind. Okay. People get fired when the players that you bring in don't do well, rather than the player that you develop that's supposed to be there the next year. We do have something coming in here in the chat, though.
I can't wait.
Is it this?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, we're going now. Okay.
Now and then when I see her face, it takes me away to that special place. And if I stay too long, I'll probably break down and cry.
Cry.
I can't remember the next verse, but whoa, sweet child of
Sweet
mine.
child of mine. Look at what you get when you give us $2.
Oh, sweet love of mine. Okay.
Imagine how
You just
long he would do that if he
successfully-
had given us $20.
He just successfully turned a hair band song into like a crooner version. It was very good, Mike.
Well, I'm trying to present it from my own voice rather than Axel's, because if I try to do Axel, it's now and then when I see her face, it takes me away to that special. And then it's like, and then all I can think about is my buddy at the gym who Black Coffee, Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, and the gym saved his life. You know, and so it takes me to a special place, much like it did to Axel. But then I'm really very much on the verge of breaking down and crying, and we will finish on the Wienermobile story because it's a dandy. Yeah. Sorry to everybody about that.
Going back,
he gave us $2.
Why do you do?
I'm actually going to listen to the podcast to see how that sounded.
Yeah. Why do you do process of elimination? Who is the very first person that's out of the lineup? Howden or Amadio, right?
No, it was Pavel.
It's Dorofeyev.
Okay, so then after that,
then it gets murky. It's either Cotton, Howden, or Amadeo. It's my buddy Tom Amadio. It's either Amadio, Howden, or Cotter. And if it's Colasar coming in, Amadio can play either side. But if you're looking for a right winger for Colasar, it puts Amadio right in the crosshairs.
But you just nailed it. Colasar was the fourth name you guys mentioned. So he's in. He's likely in.
I think Colasar
always been in. He's always been in. I mean, he was on the roster when he wasn't doing anything for a while there. They held him on the roster. Now he's at least doing more. Like he has scored
and he's
a little
still
bit.
Kind of he's their deterrent, man. He's the only guy on the team that if shit gets sideways, that you can bank on him to go in and actually throw some bombs with somebody. Like, and I know, Ken, I get you fucking hate fighting, whatever, but it's real, man.
Crap. Violent gentleman.
It's true, dude. He's the only guy on that team that you look at. If you're on the other team, he's the only guy on the Golden Knights that you look at and you have a single worry about fighting, with the exception of Braden McNabb. Okay, and McNabb's a defenseman, so you automatically he's not going to fight.
Right. So
Colasar is the only guy. Like he's the only one that makes people nervous on the other team in that way, and there's still value in it. Dude, I think fighting's a sideshow an awful lot. I get it, but like if somebody goes and runs, like somebody just runs Eichel from behind, and you need a response to it, which does happen.
It happens.
Come on, who's gonna go in there and bag a guy? Like, you send Colasar over the boards. That's just the way it works.
Like you said, McNabb could, but that's about it.
But then what? Like, we know what the first line is: Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev. They are supposed to score. They are supposed to get to the goal. They are supposed to take offensive draws. They're supposed to hold the puck, flip the game. Whatever you have with Carlson and Smith, they're basically the do everything line. We know I can put him in the defensive zone. I know I can put him against good players. I know I'm still going to get offense. I can even throw a third wheel onto that line. We're going to be fine. The third line, when it's Stevenson and Kessel together, especially when you have a Cotter next to them, I think it might change if it's Nick Waugh there. It might change a little bit if it's like anybody but Amadio or Pavel. That line's probably going to want to score. You're probably going to want to get offense out of that line, saying we're getting 3 lines of offense now. But when you have Teddy Blueger as your center, and you're saying it seems inevitable that Colasar is in the lineup. So if Blueger's in and Colasar is next to him, that's a defensive zone start line. Which is the best in that? Is it Cotter? Is it Carrier? Is it not Colasar, Howden? It's certainly not Pavel. Like in that respect, yeah, of course you're not going to play Pavel. But that line, I don't understand the plan of that line, because I don't think Howden's that great defensively. I don't think Amadio is that great defensively. I don't think Carrier is that great defensively. I would probably want Waugh there.
I would go with Carrier there. I know what you just said. He's not great defensively, but he's quick. They could move out the puck quickly with him.
But he's been scoring. Like, he's been some of the scoring. When you sit here and say they're going to have a hard time scoring, with like the best we've seen has been Stevenson, Carrier, and Kessel. That line did some scoring. Will that happen in the playoffs? I don't know, but you at least have to hope you lean on that, which now pushes Cotter down, and now it's Cotter, Bluger, Kolazar. I don't understand what that line is, and I don't think this whole like identity thing, like the identity is just throw the puck in there and do dick with it. Like, I don't understand it.
Okay. I don't think that's where they're headed with it. I mean, I think you're looking at it pretty simple right now. If they get bodies back, you're going to get Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault, Riley Smith, Carlson, Waugh on the right side. Then you're going to end up with Carrier, Stevenson, Kessel, and you're going to end up with some combination. You're probably going to get Howden, Bluger, and Kolesar. And that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's what I think
is that line. Like, what is that line? Does that line achieve the same thing that Carrier, Kolesar, Waugh achieved, which is basically what the plan is, which is like they can score, they do generate some offense, they do make it hard to play against, they will flip the game. Is that going to happen with Kolesar, Bluger, and Howden?
I don't have an answer for that. I think that
is that a 90% D zone start line? Like, can you start that line in the D zone 80, 90%? I don't know.
I'd sure like Carrier, Waugh, and Kolesar better like that. I like Waugh, but Bluger, I don't know.
Okay, but Bluger has to play.
Like a lot of players. Bluger's going to be in the lineup. He's going to play center, I think, but he could also play on the wing. I don't know.
How many times have we gone into a playoff series and the first lineup for game one, the first lineup gets changed by game two or game three? We've only seen it happen. You guys can correct me. We saw it happen in the first year under Gallant and the second year under Gallant. What about, do you remember under DeBoer?
It has happened. DeBoer didn't do it as much, but guys would funnel back in. Pacioretty came back in and they had to change things around. DeBoer's very first time in the postseason, he had Stevenson in the third line and it wasn't doing all that well. So then he started moving him up. There have been some things, but yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit more flux here. And that's where I want to see some experimentation. Like, I think I do want to see Barbashev somewhere else. Let's see how it looks somewhere else, because boy, does it look different if you can find a place to put him further down the lineup. What does he look like with Carlson and Smith? Because that line would be a bear to play against.
Yeah. No, Barbashev can go.
They've never had that guy, right?
You can put him wherever you need. I mean, he can play center if you need him to.
But do they need Barbashev? Do they need him to, again? He's never going to fill the role of Mark Stone, but do they need him to be that position, that player, to fit with Eichel?
The Stone, I don't know. Not for like the Stone style of player. I think nobody replaces Mark Stone.
Right. It's not even a percentage of that, but the size, the physicality, net front presence type.
Yeah, well, Barbashev's a little bit different than that way. Like, that line needs somebody that can be there because Marchessault is going to be a trigger guy. Eichel's going to skate it, and it's pretty simple, like the balanced line. Like, Barbashev, as you know, is going to be the guy that's working walls and going to the front, right? Like, for lack of a better way to say it. So he just balances out that line a little bit. But
is that their best offensive line?
I think Smith and Carlson lately for me have been the more effective. You disagree with me if you care to. I think Eichel's line can be real streaky. I think they also get all the tough matchups, so you may not notice them. Like, you have to take the metric more so if they're actually scoring. We do have a question in the comments I just need to hit real quick, so I make sure that we keep our listeners engaged here. And the question though is, we're going to flip right back to the line stuff, but Chris asked, can I speak about quick stance and the goalie crouches down so low more than any goalie we've had? That's mostly because he goes paddle down all the time. I would argue that Logan Thompson crouches down lower than most goalies in the league by a long shot, very low, very wide. But Quick tends to go paddle down, which makes him very small. There's actually an article that I put on Daily Faceoff about Jonathan Quick. I guess last year. So if you just Google, McKenna at Daily Faceoff, Jonathan Quick, it'll probably come up and explain a lot of his stylistic tendencies. And I would very much appreciate the clicks because it's a struggle to get anybody to read anything long form anymore. So I need all the help I can get, guys. But anyway, like the line talk,
700 words, Mike.
Yeah, supposed to be 800 to 900. Sometimes I hit 16, but in any case, the line talks. I think the lines are going to kind of shake themselves out, but it might be a bit. You're welcome, Chris.
So here's what I want to finish on with the lines is we know if things don't go well, Cassidy's shifting immediately. He's not going to wait. He's not a guy that's patient
Correct.
with his shifting of his lines. He's going to switch it around fairly quickly. We assume at some point there's going to be some sort of issue in the postseason with scoring. I think that every team typically does go through it. I think this team has like the pre-existing condition, I'll call it, where if you have COVID, Paxlovid. How many times did I see that commercial? God damn it. I think they have
it's not going on in Missouri. Condition. I didn't see that one.
Oh, it is so bad. Recently, it has been solid first line, Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault, solid pair behind them, and then the best offensive player left that's available. So it's Dorofeev, Amadio, and that's Carlson and Smith. And then Kessel, Stevenson have been locked together for the most part. It's been working. They've been winning. It's been scoring. They're doing a lot of good things, but can they, it's not going to last throughout all of it. Should they experiment with moving around some of those pairs, understanding you can always go back to that set of three pairs, or the first line's kind of three guys? Should there be experiment against some of these better teams, against some of these teams that you are going to see in the playoffs, to learn, okay, can we move these guys around? And do we have a plan B without Mark Stone in this lineup? An offensive plan B.
Isn't that risking the division, though? Potentially risking the division?
Is it not worth it?
I think they should just keep rock. I wouldn't want to be experimenting like crazy unless you feel like you need to at some point. I think it organically plays itself out like that. There will be stretches over these next 11 games where Cassidy is going to look and go, they're not playing well. Let's do it now. So I think what you're suggesting, Ken, is actually very much within the realm of reality. I think it just has to play out organically, because if they go out and just wax everybody in straight games, why are you going to fuck with anything? You know what I mean?
That's fine.
So I do think that, Cassie's got in his back pocket that he's already thinking, okay, things go sideways. Here's how I'm going to do this. They're always chess match, man. They're always ahead like that. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
I mean, how many lines does he have prepared, ready to go? Like in his mind for the playoffs? I mean, is he looking at, like we're discussing right now, is there some sort of combination that he knows I could sit this person and bring him up or bring these two in?
Guaranteed. He's probably it's funny because, some coaches are very, very calculated. To me, Cassidy strikes me as a guy who's got 30,000 pages ready at his disposal at every time, with tabs on the binder of when to find it, how to find it, and find it within 2 seconds. Versus, I think, Gerard Gallant, you go to Turk and he's probably going, this is what I'm going to do right now, right? He's winging it. It's all feel. There's no right or wrong way. It's our personalities in general, right? If I could make an Excel sheet for everything in life, I probably would do that on the most idiotic things. It's just, I'm an organized person in that way. So some coaches will absolutely just wing it and go, let's try this. And I think some, especially like a Cassidy, are just, let's go to page 2, section 5, episode 4. I think I'm talking in Star Wars terms or something here, as opposed to what actually would be like in an appendix,
Empire Strikes Back, The New Hope. All right, let's end the show with the Wienermobile story. Go.
Okay, this was wild, man. I'm playing in Springfield, Illinois in the North American Hockey League, and shout out to my billet family, Steve and Pat Jacobs, who I saw this past weekend when we traveled to Springfield, Illinois to see a WWE house show, which was headlined by Rollins and Theory going into the crowd, Rollins throwing a full trash can off of Theory, my kids going absolutely bananas, mutants galore all over the place. What a crowd. We followed that up by a nice swim in the pool, which when you're 7 and 10 years old is one of the most exciting things you could ever imagine. Let's go to the pool for an hour. Okay, let's go see my billet family. Lovely. Let's drive home. Let's have a couple hours. Now we're going to go to Monday Night Raw. We went to wrestling 2 nights in a row. It was fantastic. Wow. Had a great time. Unbelievable promo cut between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns to close the show. Carrying back on towards what happened in Springfield, Illinois, when I was a ripe old age of 17 years old. I'm backing out of the driveway in my 1994 gray Nissan Maxima with the seatbelts that started out at the front of the door and automatically traveled along a track back over your shoulder to block you into place. And I look over my right shoulder, and I do not know why, but this is in a residential neighborhood, mind you. I thought I saw the Wienermobile over my shoulder. Okay. No clue why. And it dawned on me, and I'm going, this is the weirdest thing. Why on earth did I just think I saw the Wienermobile? So I drive out of the neighborhood. I get onto the road, drive a mile down the road, turn left, drive another half mile down the road, turn right, get on the highway, drive 2 miles on the highway. Coming the other direction is the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
So you didn't see it the first time?
No, I didn't see it the first time. It was like a premonition. I didn't. I thought I saw it over my shoulder, like out of my peripheral. And it dawned on me that what does a Wienermobile do? And I looked again. It's not there. There's no Wienermobile. And not.
So you saw the future.
7 minutes. I did. I had a Doc Brown moment. I was not driving a DeLorean. I was driving a 94 gray Maxima.
Was there like a little story in the local newspaper that the Wienermobile is going to be traveling through?
I don't remember anything like that. Maybe like subliminally, I like heard it on the radio or something. But like the Wienermobile was just traveling down Highway 55, man. It wasn't in downtown or anything. It was just rocking down 55 with that beautiful yellow and orange and red paint job. I did see the future in some form or another.
I think you did that. I think you saw.
And there's people who are always like. People will be like, and you don't believe in God? And I'm always like, no, this is just an absolutely crazy coincidence, man. This doesn't change my belief.
I can see the future.
Yeah, you simply cannot like throw darts at my atheism because I saw the Wienermobile after thinking I saw, you just can't do that to me. I'm not going to let that happen. But
maybe you were maybe you were you were seeking to see the Wienermobile and somebody from above made it happen.
I'd love to take a rip in that sucker, see what it could do on a track. And that reminds me of Anthony Weiner. Remember him, the political figure from New York State who got caught doing bad things involving bad pictures involving
twice.
Well, ironically, wieners. But Anthony Weiner, did you know this? He was a goaltender.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. He was a follower of me for a while because he's dead. He just loves goaltending, man. He's all in on it. So
did he go to St. Lawrence?
No, thankfully, we do not claim him. Do you know who did go to St. Lawrence? So it was Kirk Douglas. Along with Viggo Mortensen.
Wow.
Both went to St. Lawrence, studied in the drama department. Gina Kingsbury, who was just named vice president of Hockey Canada, who ran the women's team as a general manager for the Olympics and World Championships. She went to St. Lawrence with us as well. Just talked to my friend Rich Peverly today, who went to St. Lawrence. He's moving his way up through the Dallas Stars system. So yeah, we got a few people, but it's the non-hockey folks at St. Lawrence that I find really interesting. One of the coolest ones, and I bet some people will know this, there's an artist out there by the name of Grace Potter. If you're familiar with Grace Potter's songs, she's pretty big. And I went to school with her. She used to perform at the Java Barn in front of 20 people. Dropped out of St. Lawrence, I guess, a year or two early. But that's one of my claims to fame. So I went to school with Grace Potter.
Can we hear some of Mike singing some Grace Potter?
Yeah, we could do that. Let's see. She's got a famous song from Trolls, the movie. Well, oh shoot. Let me get this one up.
I got nothing.
By the way, when Mike looks this up, our friend Keith, I think, or no, Harrison, been asking about would they ever change captaincy to take it away from Mark Stone because of injuries. I doubt that would happen, right?
Oh yeah.
Not.
I don't think they would. It's going to be, he's going to have to not be able to play next year ever for that to happen. Okay, so the Grace Potter's most famous song is from the Tangled, not from Trolls, from Tangled. It's Something That I Want. But she's also done stuff with like Kenny Chesney and some other things. She's famous for for playing a Gibson Flying V guitar. Yeah, Grace is pretty talented. Said I want something that I want. Something that I tell myself it needs something that I want. So
nobody gave us $2 for that one. We could have used the extra $2 for that one. Nonetheless, we're going to end the show. Talented. We're going to end the show the only way I know how to end the show, and that is by going to our resident man who can see into the future and telling us exactly how many wins the Golden Knights are going to have in their next 3 games before the next goalie interference. He has seen the future. Mike can see the future at Calgary, at Edmonton, home against Edmonton. Go. Tell us the future.
They're going to win 2 games.
Okay.
They're going to win against Calgary at home. And I think they're going to drop the Edmonton
game. Calgary home. Calgary away. Calgary away.
Or sorry, I think they're going to drop the Calgary away game. I think they dropped the I'm spacing out.
Murky.
Let me get the future. I've got to get. Listen, I got to turn on my flux capacitor here. All right,
please do.
I got to get it up to 88.8 miles an hour, 121 gigawatts,
see the
and I got to make sure. And I got to keep the Libyans away from me. You know, they got the plutonium, right? Like, Marty, the Libyans. But I think they're going to beat Calgary tomorrow. I don't think they win in Calgary on Saturday, but I think they come home and win on Tuesday against Edmonton. And I think that they run Jack Campbell off the ice.
Really?
So this is the variable. I don't know which of those 2 games. I don't know which of those 2 games Campbell's going to play, but that's a wild hair guess.
Well, I think Skinner's playing tonight, right? So
he was likely earlier today, I believe so. Yeah. So they should get, well, shoot, we don't know what happens over the next 3 days here. I can't remember what Edmonton's schedule's like leading up to the 25th, but yeah.
I think I'm about to go drive to pick up my dinner, and I'm planning on seeing the Wienermobile, and it's going to be awesome.
You're the guy that stole its catalytic converter, aren't you? You did it.
I didn't do it. I wouldn't have to do this show. I wouldn't need the sponsorship of the Jimerson law firm if I stole that catalytic converter. I'd be good. I'd be so rich we wouldn't even need to be doing this. Granted, I would probably do this anyway, even if I did.
But then the Wienermobile,
I did not steal the catalytic converter.
They would probably hire the Jimerson law firm to sue you after if you stole it.
And I tell you this, when winning matters, seek out the Jimerson law firm. And if they were hired, they would win that case. I believe that for sure. This has been Goalie Interference. Thanks, as always, to the Jimerson law firm. Read Mike's shit. That's the simplest way I can put it. Dailyfaceoff.com. Read Mike's shit. Good night.